Okay, we are live for our Tuesday chat. I hope everyone can hear me on Facebook and YouTube and Instagram. Assalamu alaikum. So, every Tuesday, if you are just joining me, I sort of do an brainstorming and talking about the book that I am writing and making some notes to myself about how we are rewriting the book. So, a couple of years ago, I wrote a book called The MR40 Method. And in the time since this has been written, I have coached hundreds of women on the protocol and have learned a lot. And so I'm going to rewrite and update the book. And I'm giving you guys basically every Tuesday a sort of preview of what I'm going to add to the book, what I'm going to adjust inside of the book. There's nothing in it that I want to take away, but I definitely have stuff to add. So today I'm actually going to chat with you a little bit about a chapter that I am going to add to the book that is not included in the book. So here is what I learned, which is really important. So just as kind of like an overview, the MR40 method is 4 research and science-backed methods that help everybody, not just women, to balance hormones and lose weight, right? Because many people struggle with weight loss despite trying to eat less and exercise more. I was one of those people when life happened to me, and I was like, there's more to it than my body being a bank, right? It's not always what we put in or what we take out. And so the MR40 method talks about the power of intermittent fasting for healing our body, the power of a ketogenic eating style in order to heal our body, as well as a particular protocol of metabolic reconditioning workouts, as well as angiogenesis inhibiting foods. And we'll get to those chapters later. So here is what I've learned. So today, technically, we should be talking about keto, right? But I'm not going to talk to you about keto today. We are actually going to hold that until next week. Because what I have learned over the last 5 years in teaching this program is that before a person can jump into a low carb or a ketogenic lifestyle, the first thing they need to do is break sugar addiction. Break sugar addiction, break sugar addiction, break sugar addiction. Sugar is an addiction. When we talk about what is the most highly addictive substance in the world, it is not alcohol. It is not cigarettes. It is sugar, because it's an accepted addiction, right? And what people don't realize, that I have come to understand, is people do not realize you don't have to eat candy bars every day to be addicted to sugar. The other thing that I've realized in teaching women the program is that people who come straight in, and this is one of the reasons why many people say, well, I tried keto, but it doesn't work for me. Like, I can't go without bread, or I can't go without rice. No, you can't go without sugar, and you never broke your sugar addiction, which made it much more difficult for you to stick to a ketogenic lifestyle. 99% of the women who are the most successful on my program, they did a sugar detox first, which is why now in the evolution of even my coaching program, I never bring someone in and say, okay, go and only eat 20 grams of carbs a day. Because if you go from eating oatmeal and granola and fruit smoothies every morning and sandwiches for lunch and rice for dinner, to now tomorrow you need to eat 20 grams of carbs, You're never going to sustain that. So today we are talking about a chapter that I'm going to add to the book about sugar and sugar addiction and how it affects our health. And this is kind of like really basic information, and it's going to be a challenge to most people. So I would say that if you want to lose weight, if you want to balance your hormones, if you want to manage your blood glucose, then this is the live that you need to save, that you need to share, that you need to come back to, because I'm going to give you some really simple things that would be considered phase one inside of my own coaching program. So, really important. If you know somebody that is struggling right now and don't know where to start because everything on the internet is all crazy and you don't know where to get the information from, definitely tag them, share this, send it to them. This is, I would say, the most important aspect of starting a health and weight loss journey, right? This is the most important aspect. If you don't know where to start, the first thing that you need to do, if you are overweight, if you have any form of insulin resistance, that's you've been diagnosed pre-diabetic, or you have the signs of insulin resistance, you have PCOS, or you have type 2 diabetes, the first thing that you need to do is remove all added sugar from your diet, all added sweetener from your diet. And I'm going to explain to you exactly what I mean by that. That means, right? So again, we're not talking about low carb eating. We're not talking about ketogenic eating. We're simply talking about added sugar. That means that anything that you add sugar or sweetness to, remove it. Do not eat it, eliminate it. Don't decrease it. What we know from research is that if you try to break a sugar addiction by decreasing it, you do not break your sugar addiction. If you try to break a sugar addiction by, instead of me having a cookie every night, I'm going to have a date, you do not break your sugar addiction. Dates are sugar. Coconut sugar is sugar. Anything that says sugar is sugar. Okay? Nasima, thank you so much for buying a badge. I appreciate it. Yes, you guys can buy badges on Instagram. You can buy stars on Facebook. I will highly appreciate people who buy badges and stars, and give you a shout out for sure. So when you are thinking about where do I start with added sugar. And so this is what I mean. Sugar, think of it in our basic understanding of sugar, right? White sugar, brown sugar, anything that says sugar, right? It first thing that it does is immediately raises your blood glucose level, which gives you a huge spike in insulin, right? So remember, insulin is a response to a raised blood glucose level, right? There's sugar in so many things that we don't even realize. Like the United States CDC does not even have the strictest of rules. And in the United States, it is recommended that a woman should not eat more than 24 grams of added sugar, right? So we're talking about adding it to something. And I'm going to take a little break from the added sugar part, and I'm going to explain to you what added means. That means if you have a product that says all natural honey, it has added sugar. Honey is a natural form of sugar. Sugar is a natural form of sugar. Sugar actually starts off as a plant. It's canes, right? Cane sugar. Honey is not a substitute for sugar in your health. Honey is not a substitute for sugar. And I cannot say that loud enough or enough times, because for some reason we have this idea that if it comes from nature, then it's okay. Everything is not for everybody. So I want to make this clear. I am not talking about the person who's underweight that needs to gain weight. I am not talking about someone who runs marathons 3 times a year and they're healthy and they exercise and they have no weight to lose and their goal is just to get faster, right? I am not talking about the bodybuilder that is just trying to gain muscle and she is 15% body fat. That is not who I'm talking to. I am talking to you if you are overweight, if you have any form of insulin resistance, if you have pre-diabetes, PCOS, or diabetes. That is who I am talking to. So if you are not one of those people, please do not post in my comments about how you're okay because you eat sugar every day and you put honey in your tea. I'm not talking to you. Your body is different than people who have these pre-existing insulin resistance bodies. All right. There's my side note disclaimer. When I talk about added sugar, that means anything that is added to the food. Yes, that means adding honey to your tea. Added. Remember, that is the key word. Added. Remove all added sugar. That means places where sugar hides, including flavored yogurts, right? So think about this for a minute. The CDC and FDA, which in the United States is not even that strict. Like they literally rejected a group of 100 doctors getting together and asking to decrease the recommended amount of sugar for the average human adults. And they were like, nah, we're not doing that. Sugar industry give us too much money. So this isn't even the strictest requirements. And they recommend that an adult woman have no more than 24 grams total grams of added sugar a day. Now I want you to think about this for a minute. If you're having toast in the morning, that's probably about 4 grams of added sugar to that piece of bread. 1 Dannon yogurt, 6-ounce Dannon flavored yogurt alone has 24 grams of added sugar in it. Places where where sugar hide. You decide, you know what? It's a super busy day. Granola is made from oats. That's healthy. It's fiber. I'm going to grab a granola bar. 15 grams of added sugar. We haven't even gotten to a teaspoon or 2 of sugar in the raw, right? Because we're trying to eat healthy and all natural. Add it to your coffee in the morning. Or the tablespoon of honey that you're adding to your tea, which is even more sugar. I believe a tablespoon of honey is something like 20 grams of sugar. It contains sugar. 1 date has 16 grams of sugar, right? So when you are trying to break sugar addiction, there are certain things that you need to start with. So first thing, if you have a sugar addiction, do not ask me, can I have this in replace of sugar? Because if you are replacing it with sugar, then you're still feeding the addiction. That's like an alcoholic saying, well, instead of drinking vodka, would it be okay if I just have a beer? Like anybody would be like, you're an alcoholic. No, you can't have any alcohol, right? It is not going to cure your alcoholism by decreasing the amount of alcohol that you drink. You need to stop drinking alcohol. Sugar addiction is the same way. You cannot break a sugar addiction by replacing it with sweet things, right? Instead of a candy bar, I'm going to make date balls and it's going to have dried dates and nuts and honey and all of this stuff in it. It's literally just sugar. It doesn't matter that it came from a natural source. Sugar comes from a natural source too. Sugar comes from sugar canes. It's sugar. You have to eliminate it for at least 7 days, preferably for 21. For at least 7 days. You would be so surprised. So I give out a 10-day sugar detox program, and most people fail the first time. Most people fail the first time they do the sugar detox. They can't even go 10 days without added sugar in their diet. In the process of removing sugar from your diet, you should not be looking. So this is also really important because I see Baina on Facebook asks, what about monk fruit, right? Monk fruit is an acceptable form of sweetener after you have broken your sugar addiction. If you are on a sugar detox, you should not be trying to have sweetened sugar substitutes. You literally have to retrain your taste buds and your brain. After you are done with your sugar detox and you are no longer addicted to sugar, right? When you can get to a point, and you know when this is I don't need sugar. I always like to use like little arbitrary, and this is for most people, but not everybody. When you can eat an almond and taste the sweetness of an almond, then you know you are not addicted to sugar. When you are addicted to sugars, almonds are bitter. Almonds are neutral. You don't taste the sweetness of an almond, the sweetness of a pecan, right? They don't have added sugar, but they have a natural sweetness inside of them. So when you are on your sugar detox, when you are trying to detox off of sugar, you should not be using sugar substitutes, right? Afterwards, as a long-term plan, monk fruit is okay, stevia is okay, but not if you are addicted to sugar, because the sweetness of even these substitutes is going to continue to feed your addiction. So if you don't know where to start on your health and wellness journey, start by removing added sugar. This is not about you going low carb. This is not about you going keto. Most people will have a struggle just with that. Even people who say, well, I don't eat candy and cookies, but every protein that they have has some type of sauce on it. You got to have barbecue sauce. You got to have sweet and sour salt. All of that has added sugar in it, right? I'm not addicted to sugar, but I have a fruit smoothie every morning. I tell you a funny story. A friend of mine told me how good fruit smoothies was. I've never had fruit smoothies before, but I've been on TikTok and I had this delicious smoothie this morning. Literally, she's like, in her smoothie was bananas, watermelon, 2 dates, and some honey. And I looked at her and I said, that must have been delicious. She was like, oh, it was so good. Because you literally just drunk like the equivalent of a half a cup of sugar. Those are literally the 3 sweetest fruits. Highest in sugar, right? Highest in sugar. It does not break a sugar addiction. Bananas are one of the highest sugar fruits. Dates are one of the high. Any dried fruit is literally concentrating the sugar inside of the fruit. So if you've downloaded my 10-day sugar rehab, it's free. You can go to 10daysugarrehab.com and download it for free. You will see a list of green foods, a list of yellow foods, and a list of red foods. Inside of the yellow foods, those are the things that you have to limit, right? Meaning you don't want to go overboard on those things. Among those are dried fruits, because dried fruits is concentrated sugar. The fruit itself is concentrated, right? You go from having a plum to a prune. You go from having a grape to a raisin, right? The same amount of sugar, and then you can fit more of them within a cup. So you want to limit those. What can you eat when you're trying to break a sugar addiction? Thousands of foods. If you're trying to break a sugar addiction, as long as it doesn't have added sugar, eat it. Yes, you can have fruit, but you can also have all of your grains that are without added sugar. You can have all of your protein, does not have added sugar. You can have lots of vegetables, does not have added sugar. There's everything else. A general rule that you want to follow is, if you have to turn it over and look at the ingredient list and the nutrition label, then you probably shouldn't be eating a lot of that. Because if it has a nutrition label, then it was processed. Things that you buy in a store, we're talking about things you buy in a store, that does not have labels and an ingredient list, are the natural things. Those are the things that we should be eating in abundance, right? There's no nutrition label when you go buy broccoli. There's no nutrition label when you go buy a steak. There's no nutrition label when you go buy an apple, right? Stick to the things without labels. So for a minimum of 7 days, preferably 21 days, you want to challenge yourself that you are not eating any added sugar. And if you mess up, you go back to day 1. So yes, if you've gotten to day 11 and at day 11 you ate a slice of bread, then yes, you have to start back at day 1. Challenge yourself with that. And I want you to take your measurements. I want you to weigh yourself on the scale. And I want you to write down, what is your energy level when you start? And then on the day that you end, I want you to write down about your energy level. On day 1, I want you to write down about how is your sleep versus when you end, how is your sleep? The difference that you see is going to be so significant. You don't know how good you can feel until you feel that good. Hidden sugars and sugars inside of our foods is detrimental to our health. It lowers your immune system, like literally on a cellular level. So research shows that vitamin C, so think about your immune system, sort of like to fortify it, there's keyholes, right? And we take nutrients and vitamins, and vitamin C is one of those things. Everybody knows vitamin C boosts the immune system. Think about vitamin C as it is a key that's fitted inside of a hole that's going to make the cell stronger, right? So this is just an analogy for us to understand how sugar interrupts the immune process, right? Your cell. There's a keyhole. Vitamin C. We take our vitamin C, we put a key inside of the hole, it fortifies the cell. Well, research shows that when you eat sugar, sugar actually clogs that hole. And the vitamin C can't get in there because sugar has taken its place. And sugar does not fortify the cell, it makes it weaker. This is one of the reasons why when people are like, oh, well, I take my gummies every morning, I'm like, but Is that really, really doing what you think it's doing? I ain't saying that it's not, because every gummy is made with different sweetener, but is the sugar working against you as opposed to the nutrients that it's supposed to have? Just a little food for thought. I'm not down in nobody's vitamins. I'd rather you taking them than not taking them. But this is the effect that sugar has on you. Sugar works on your brain. And just like an addictive substance, the more you eat it, the more you need to crave it, right? That's the way addiction works. Is the first time having 2 cookies satisfies you. Body is like, that was good. I need more of that. Now, this week, you need 3 cookies to get to that level of satisfaction of, oh, my sweet tooth is satisfied. In a month, you may need 5 cookies, right? To reach that same level of, oh, my sweet tooth is satisfied. That's the way addiction works. You have to cut it off, right? And here is the other thing about sugar addiction in particular. You have to do it really intentional because our food system is pretty screwed up. It really is. They add sugar to everything. Thanks to this low-fat crave that we have been on since like the 1960s, right? Everything needs to be low-fat. Fat helps things taste good. Fat is a natural part of food. And every time they remove the fat, they have to add flavor to it because fat also adds flavor. And so they're going to add sugar and salt. So, challenge for you. Go to the store, find a low-fat product that also has the original version. Flip them both on the side and see how much sugar and sodium they had to add to the low-fat product when they took the fat out. I guarantee you, when you look at them side by side, the product that is full fat is going to have less sugar and salt than the product that is low fat. They're literally altering the taste buds. Now it might taste the same. Most of them don't, but some of them do, right? Because food scientists are really good. And they know how to manipulate the food. So not only do you think it tastes good, but you also crave it. Because think about this for a minute. If every time you eat sugar, you need to eat more of that sugar in order to reach the same level of satisfaction, if I remove fat from something, which is going to satisfy you, right? Original version, which is going to give you satiety, which is going to taste good, but will not feed until an addiction, and I take away the fat and add the sugar, you are going to want more of that product over the long term. You are going to buy more because you are going to want to eat more of it. So as a manufacturer, not only am I creating a delicious product, but I'm also creating a product that's going to guarantee you as a customer, because it has so much sugar, you're going to want more and more of it. It's a part of the plan. We have to take control of our own health, take control of our own choices, right? It's hard to eat all natural. When people say, well, I don't want to just eat vegetables, or I don't like vegetables, or I love this one, my kids don't like vegetables. Most kids who don't like vegetables eat lots of carbs and sugar. And I'm not going to lie. Now, I'm not saying all kids like all vegetables, right? We pass down our eating habits. I can't tell you how many times I've heard a mom tell me, like, my kids don't eat broccoli. And then I'm like, do you eat broccoli? No, I don't eat broccoli, and I don't cook broccoli because my kids don't like it. Maybe your kids don't like it because you don't cook it, because you don't like it. Just a little food for thought. Think about it. I'm not blaming you. I'm just saying, thinking about it. Okay. We have to pass on better health and nutrition habits to our children than we had. So when they're our age, they aren't having the same struggles that we have. Same thing goes for kids. I'm going to say this right before I end today is don't make your kids addicted to sugar. Kids do not need juice. It is detrimental to their health. Orange juice, juice and stuff at home that you did in your magic juicer, kids do not need juice. Juice is concentrated sugar. You don't need juice. Giving your kids juice is like giving them soda. You might as well just give them soda because they'll probably like the carbonation a little bit better. Don't give your kids juice. Don't create a sugar addiction for your children. All right? Don't create a sugar addiction. Give them better habits than we had. And when you start doing it, it is going to benefit them in every way, from their grades to their behavior to their general health. We have an epidemic of childhood obesity. This is a huge problem. Not only do we have an epidemic of childhood obesity, we also have an epidemic of childhood diabetes. I'm 46. I remember when type 2 diabetes was called adult onset diabetes. It is no longer called adult onset diabetes. That is not just because type 2 diabetes, calling it type 2 diabetes was just a different discovery of how it works. It's now called type 2 diabetes because so many children began to get what was considered adult onset diabetes that we changed the name of it because it isn't any longer exclusive to adults or more common for adults. The amount of kids 12 and under who's getting type 2 diabetes is at epidemic levels. The amount of children who are obese is at a level that we've never seen before in the United States. And it makes it harder for them as they get older. I'm going to leave you with this one little fact, particularly about children and why it's so important that we save them from the obesity epidemic and a lifelong struggle for them. The way that fat cells work is when they multiply, I want you to think about a fat cell. I always like giving people visuals. Think about a fat cell like a bubble, right? That we blow. The fat cell can only get but so big. Once additional fat comes in that cannot fit in the fat cell then creates another cell in order to store the fat, right? And so this is how we accumulate fat cells. This is no matter what age we are, children to adults. That's how fat cells are formed. When we lose weight and we lose fat, the center, the fat, the adipose tissue inside of the cell membrane, it comes out, turns into carbon dioxide mostly, and you're breathing it out. You can check my previous post when I talked about the science of that. But the membrane of the cell never goes anywhere. So when you are overweight or obese and you lose weight, it is much easier for you to gain that weight back than somebody who is never overweight, because the membrane of the cell is still there and it's open and available for fat to fill it in. So once we gain a fat cell, the cell itself does not go away. The tissue inside of the cell shrinks and diminishes, and that's how we lose weight, but the cell itself does not go away. This is important when we think about children and childhood obesity, because if they gain all of these excess cells really young, the cells don't go away. They are going to struggle with obesity and their weight throughout their lives because they were obese as children. Doesn't mean it's not impossible. Yes, there are many obese children who became adults and adopted a different lifestyle and is fit and do all of these things, but it is much more effort once you've been overweight in order for you to lose weight. So I say that because as parents, we can't use our children as an excuse. We have to use them as the reason that we want to adopt healthy lifestyle habits. We have to save them from the same struggles that we have. We have to keep them active, keep them eating healthy, and sometimes that means saying no. Sometimes that means encouraging them to eat things and do things that they would not otherwise want to do. But that's our job as parents. That was a whole different tangent that I didn't intend on getting on, but you guys get it. So, if you want to get the 10-day sugar rehab, again, it's the number 10 day, DAY, sugarrehab.com. You can go there, you can download it, for free, and start there. Again, start there. Remove added sugar from your diet to break your sugar addiction. And Amira, the substitute for juice is water. Just water. That's it. There's no magic formula, just water. All right. I will talk to you guys next Tuesday, where we will finally get into the topic of low carb and ketogenic eating. I know a lot of people are interested in that. A lot of people don't do it correctly. And that is going to be an interesting topic. So if you have any questions related to that, feel free to ask them in a comment. And next Tuesday, when we come live, we will address them. All right. Assalamu alaikum.